Hello and welcome to This Is Adidas. They sent us over a brand new PS5
Wait,
Pro.
no. That's not 3 stripes. That's 3 vents. So, for context, this is a PS5 Slim. We've got ourselves our first look at the PS5 Pro here in the studio. I feel like I'm so small in front of these PS5s.
Well, you're a small boy.
I feel like they're so overwhelming. This is just a very much a first impression, so we've not had a lot of time to play with it. There's definitely some interesting things that we have learned. But Matt, what's your first impression upon seeing the PS5 Pro?
Since day one, I've hated the design of the PS5. I think it's ugly.
I actually don't hate it. I mean, I like the little subtle like V, which is the 5, like the Roman numeral 5. Like that's kind of like cute. The main thing is that when you look at these side by side, it literally just looks like this is the PS5 Pro and this is the PS5 on Ozempic.
Oh!
It's just a little skinnier.
Body shaming the PS5.
I'm just saying this one just needs to get off the couch a little bit more. I'm just saying it's a little chunky.
I just want to point out that these vents on the side here
Completely fake.
do absolutely nothing.
Yes.
And the first thing I noticed when I picked it up, they are sharp.
I did the exact same thing, especially in the back.
Picking it up like this is like not comfortable. If you guys move this thing around, these vents are getting snapped off pretty quickly.
I will tell you that on first impression, the hardware of this does not give you any sort of professional pro sort of vibes, right? Like the only real difference between the two is that the PS5 Slim has this two-tone where it's got the glossy plastic on top and it's matte on the bottom. The PS5 Pro is matte on both panels. You still got the piano black here, which looks almost the exact same. And also there's no extra ports. There's nothing, right?
Nothing.
So you got 2 USB-C up front, Ethernet, 2 USB-A, HDMI around back, plus your power cable. So it's exactly the same as far as I can see. There are a couple of differences on the inside. If you pop off one of those side panels, you can replace the CMOS battery, which is not something you do on the previous PS5s. You had to tear them all the way down to the motherboards. I will say, like, hardware-wise, it is a snooze fest. You're not flexing on anyone. You spend the extra $200 unless they're impressed with your vents.
With this being Pro and for the price tag, you just feel like you should be getting more.
It's clear that they designed these two at the exact same time. And keep in mind that neither of these have the disk drives. Although, I will mention that the exact same PS5 Slim disk drive is compatible with the PS5 Pro, which is part of the reason why I think it's got this design, because they have to have the exact same size, like sort of bottom shells. Wow, that's really weird to look at on camera.
Yeah, that's how similar they are. I saw some people who were saying like, oh, it's just the same plastic tabs. If you want to see the teardown, watch Austin's video on the main channel.
I'll eventually figure it out.
That's coming out. I've been trying to wrap my head around it since the official launch, especially now seeing it in person.
Yeah.
Seeing that it's the exact same material. Yes, the performance increase is theoretically great, but for $700, man.
I made a video, I think 2 years ago, saying that the PS5 Pro would never happen. I did not think this made sense, right? Because if you look back to the last generation, we had the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. Both came in that sort of mid-cycle update. But there's a very good reason for those. The initial consoles were good, but they came out right as 4K TVs were becoming popular. And everyone wanted the 4K console, so it made a lot of sense for Sony and Microsoft to revise those consoles. But fast forward to 2020 when we got the PS5 and the Series X, none of these consoles had any sort of major deficiencies, right? We've talked about this in the past. Solid CPUs, solid GPUs, SSDs, like it had kind of the whole picture and it supported 4K. So if you look at this, what's the pitch?
If you look at like 1080, like, well, even like going back to like all the way back to just digital in general. So you had like 480. That was kind of a big jump forward compared to analog. And, you know, 720 to 1080 was a decent jump for a lot of people. And
8K?
8K, everyone's just like, well, I don't have a 100-inch TV in my house.
The PS5 Pro does actually allow you to do some 8K gaming.
And for the 12 of you that have that, that's great.
But I guess my main thought here is that, yes, it technically will do some very light 8K gaming, but I don't think anyone is buying this to play games in 8K. Because think back to the PS4 to the PS4 Pro. PS4 came out $400. 3 years later, they dropped the price to $300 and they brought out a PS4 Pro at the exact same $400 price point. It was a bit of a no-brainer, right? You weren't paying that much more. You were getting significantly better performance if you had a 4K TV, and even if you didn't. With this, we went from a $400 to $500 PS5, and now we've got a $450 to $500 PS5, or the $700 PS5 Pro. I don't think there's that inherent value pitch that the PS4 Pro had. And you actually had a real reason to play at 4K.
Yeah.
This is going to basically play a lot of your same games at 120 instead of 60, or slightly better graphic settings at 60, which is not nothing, like, for sure. But it's also a lot more money.
I saw this argument with actually Mac Minis, that you can buy 2 base Mac Minis for the same price as doubling the storage and the RAM. If I have this much money to spend, I would rather have two PS5s, and I feel like other people are like this as well. If I want to play like in the living room and I want like one in the bedroom, I would rather just literally buy two of these. One of the things that I don't see anyone talking about on Twitter, this is $700 without a disk drive.
Yeah. So if you want the disk drive, that's an extra $80, I believe.
No one's factoring that $80 cost when I see people talking about this.
Yeah.
You can't argue and say that console should have a disk drive and then ignore that this does not have one.
What's interesting is with the PS5 Slim, you can buy this straight from Sony with or without the disk drive, right? So if you bought on the PS5 Slim, is a $50 upcharge. If you want a disk drive with this, you have to buy the disk drive separately, which means you're not paying $50 extra, you're paying $80 extra.
Yeah. You expect a Pro model to come with something Pro. Again, it is a more powerful chip. Let's not discount that. It would have been nice if they like included like a DualSense Edge, something to feel like you are actually like a more premium product.
I just really want to focus on the idea that this is the Pro console. No one's disputing that this is a more powerful device. It's certainly going to be the best place in the world to play GTA 6 when that comes out and whatnot. Last time around, PS4 Pro was $400. This time around, you're paying, if you're comparing it to the Slim model, which you should be because it's essentially the same console. So it's a $250 upgrade, and that's being generous because again, you can find the original PS5 on the PlayStation website refurbished. So you're paying $250 more for the privilege of a professional console. And what you're getting with that is a larger SSD. I don't think that's a massive upgrade. It's a nice one, but you can definitely just go and buy like a 1 terabyte SSD and throw it in a PS5. But what you're getting here is a console which is so much more expensive. And the crazy thing is it doesn't come with a disc drive. I just think that there's something about that really bothers me. But then you have the gall to put the PS5 Pro badge on it and you make me go out and buy the disc drive for $80 extra. There's something about this that doesn't hit.
My tune would change if it came with like a DualSense Edge. Something. I don't know what, but I think I know where this feeling of weirdness comes from. And that's because we have confirmed that this was supposed to be the PS5. Sony has come out and said that the PS5 Pro is in development longer than the PS5.
They finished the majority of the work on the PS5, started thinking about what they were gonna do for PS5 Pro. That's the way that I take that quote. They didn't develop the PS5 Pro, go, oh wait, we should make a cheaper version, and then they like drop this thing or something.
I think that's what they did. I think this was supposed to be the PS5. Imagine this 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Think of how expensive it would have been then. And we cannot sell it for this amount of money. So what we do, we make it even cheap. We dumb it down a little bit. I think they developed the PS5 Pro as the PS5. We're like, we cannot ship this, but we have this powerful thing. We will cut down the costs by shipping a lesser model. I just think they wanted to do a bigger jump right out the gate, realized they couldn't make, because it would just be too prohibitively expensive, and then kind of sat on this for a while until prices could go down.
I see where you're coming from, but I do think it was theoretically possible for Sony to have developed this around the same time as PS5. It's essentially the same CPU, which again is not really different. It's the GPU that's different. What I don't know as of recording this video is how different it is to the GPU and the PS5. I know that it's got a higher teraflop number. They could have made the GPU a little bit bigger, but I do think that there's a little bit more of the more modern RDNA features in here, which probably didn't exist in 2020 that they were developing at the time. Yes, Sony probably could have made almost this exact same thing, but they wouldn't have had PSSR already. It wouldn't have been a full Pro. I believe it took them a couple years, and if I'm being honest, they probably also just wanted to wait a little bit so that the PS5 would sell, another 50 million consoles before they brought out the Pro model. Because in that same quote that you're referring to, they also talked about how the PS5 is a 10-year console. And you know what? They are actually not totally wrong, but I feel like they say that in a really nefarious way because the PS4 was a 10-year life cycle. AKA, they kept making the PS4 years after they brought out the PS5. They will still probably be making a PS4 Slim in 2030.
I don't want to say I told you so.
You love to tell me I told you so.
But I'm going to tell you I told you so. For years now, I've been preaching to you that this is not the same playbook as other consoles.
What do you think is going on with PlayStation?
Well, we see it going on. They're saying it's a 10-year console, not a 7-year. They saw with the PS4. Yeah. Like, you know what? People are willing to hold on to these longer than we thought they would. I think we have a new entity. The Venn diagram of console generations used to be very thin. Now, when you have years of people still, I'm going to stick with my PS4 for years. A lot of these features kind of got a little held back. There's last generation, next generation, but now we have this third thing in the middle of like this lost mid-generation. When we're talking about 10 years now, okay? Yes, a PS6 will come out
course.
probably in like 7 years, whatever. Our game's going to fully benefit for those first couple years while still having to support a PS5, original PS5. Sony's saying it's 10 years. I take that as more like 11, 12 years. It's, again, the same conversation we have with Nintendo. Switches keep selling. They wouldn't keep making PS4s if they weren't selling, because people realize, wait, I can get most of what I want with the PS4 Pro compared to a PS5. And I think people are going to start realizing that with the PS5 Pro.
The PS5 Pro is undoubtedly an upgrade. It is undoubtedly the most powerful console you can buy right now. Head and shoulders above the Series X. The Switch 2 is not going to be as powerful as the PS5 Pro. I will put money on that. The PS5 is way more powerful.
I would take back everything negative that I said about Nintendo if they came out with some baller console.
But here's the thing, right? There is something we should give Sony props to. Clearly, Xbox feels like at this point are not going to compete with the PS5 Pro. There's no Series X Pro coming for all we know. So the PS5 Pro, for the next couple of years at least, is going to be the top dog in consoles. And as much as why I'm not happy with the fact that it's $700 and doesn't come with a disc drive, it feels like it's a different kind of value proposition than the PS4 Pro. But that being said, we'll have to fully investigate it, but it does seem like on the surface, I doubt that you can build a more powerful gaming PC for $700.
No, I don't think you can buy a PC for $700 that's as powerful as this.
Probably not, yeah.
But for $700, you can go buy a PC, build a PC that's pretty good. While it's not as powerful as this, it's going to give you a lot more versatility. That's what I keep seeing with something like this. Is like, yeah, I can't wait to play whatever on this. For all we know, there's going to be another PS5 Pro revision.
Oh, they will. They will 100% revise this.
Which will be more efficient, whatever.
Here's the thing. There's two takeaways that I have from my first impressions of the PS5 Pro. It is at the same time the most powerful console, the best PlayStation, one of the best places to play if money is no object. But on the flip side, I will say that the difference between this $700 PS5 Pro and a $350 refurb PS5 that you can buy right now on the PlayStation site is, I'm going to be honest, not a huge difference. Certainly when you consider that it is literally half the price. As much as I think the PS5 Pro is a lovely feat of engineering, I am not going to upgrade my PS5. And I'm just going to keep sticking with my original launch model. None of the things that are upgraded here make any difference to me personally. Changes are so minor compared to $700 that for me personally, there's no shot that I would upgrade a PS5 existing sort of console for the Pro. If this was cheaper, if that had a disc drive, if it was more of an actual drop-in replacement for the PS5 that I purchased in 2020, that made me think about it. But the way this console is right now, I am not going to upgrade to it. This misses the mark for me in a way that's kind of hard to articulate, but it's not it. The price is not it. The Pro name is not it. It is just a PS5 that's a little bit more powerful. It's way more expensive.
Meh. Speaking of teardowns, if you want to see one, check out Austin's channel. That's going to be up soon. Let us know if you're going to get this one in the comments, and we will catch you in the next one.
I'm about to pull an all-nighter